It's a great honor and pleasure for me having to open our event today, and I'm pleased about the lively participation and the strong interest on your part in this event. And of course, we all have to thank you very much for hosting and being here in Budapest. Another thank you is of course due to you, Pierre, that you just spontaneously agreed to enrich our Congress with an opening speech. Our topic, sustainable finance, is attracting more and more professional interest, as we all have been able to observe in the meantime. Of course, such a project on an international level encounters certain technical problems. They also have to do with the fact that we are living in turbulent times and that the pace of development is increasing more and more, so that it's not easy to catch up with all of this and to keep one's work up to date in such a way that it keeps pace with the legislative speed of the European Union. When I prepared my speech, for example, it was not necessarily foreseeable that CSR reporting would soon be changed from the comply or explain system to that CSR results would have to be reported in any case in the future. It was also not foreseeable with what vehemence the European Commission is now setting about influencing corporate governance more and more in its own sense, namely in the sense of the ESG doctrine. Sustainable finance will probably no longer be the only means of choice for legal promotion of sustainable entrepreneurship in the future. Even today, I'm not sure whether some of my theses are not already outdated by new rules that I may not be aware of. In that case, I would, of course, always be very grateful that I may be grateful for relevant advice from you. At the moment, developments are coming thick and fast, for example, in connection with the CSR directive. Only 3 days ago, we read in German newspapers that the correctness of this directive is being questioned by academics because of a possible violation of the principle of democracy. Anyway, the development of European law is complex and mostly ends in complex results, as complex as the European Union itself is. I think I have observed a particularly strong change in the way the traditional conflict between common law and continental European codification is to be resolved. In earlier times, England complained again and again that its methods of knowledge were given too little consideration compared to those favored by others, especially France and Germany. I cite the example of European accounting law. In the meantime, this has changed drastically. Legal ideas from the experts in the UK have been taken up and adapted more and more readily by Brussels and the decision makers in the connected bodies. I need only remind you of the stewardship debate in connection with the shareholders' rights directive. I mention this also because a Brexit appears against this background from a new, if not to say strange, if not to say just a funny point of view. After all, it was the goal of the British to free themselves from the burdens of European law through the Brexit in order to be able to continue following national legislation. In the meantime, the English have noticed that the Europeans are running after them and cannot be eager enough to adopt English rules into European law. I call this the kind of revolving door effect. What could be the consequence here? Either the English should reconsider whether to reverse Brexit after all, now that the business basis for it has disappeared, or the Europeans finally will make a move and knock on the door of the English to be admitted to the Commonwealth. It's a joke. Okay. We will wait and see. It's a great pleasure for me now, ask Pierre, to take my place right at the front of the podium. And of course, it is completely unnecessary to introduce him. He's one of the most prominent representatives of our profession when it comes to preparing and coaching the legislative processes in the European Union. And also, we owe special thanks to Pierre because he kindly agreed to tell us something about the legal situation in France. Unfortunately, our colleague Alain from Paris had to cancel his participation in today's event at short notice, and it would have to be not very helpful to completely omit the country report for France. Therefore, once again to you, Pierre, and also for this, my heartfelt thanks. Okay. Thank you very much.